The Lord God repented that he had made Saul king, so he called for the prophet Samuel. Then the Lord came to the prophet Samuel, saying, "Fill your horn with oil and go. I will send you to the man Jesse of the Bethlehemites, for I have chosen a king among his sons, and called Jesse to the sacrifice, and I will show you what to do. You shall anoint whomever I tell you to." The prophet Samuel did as the Lord said and came to Bethlehem. He sanctified Jesse and his sons and called them to the sacrifice. It came to pass when they had come that he looked on Eliab and said, "Surely the Lord's anointed is before me." Eliab was Jesse's eldest son. But the Lord said to Samuel, "Don't look at his appearance or stature or how tall they are, for the king Saul was a very tall man." So Samuel was looking for someone similar to that. The Lord said, "Eliab is not the one I have chosen, for the Lord sees not as man sees. For men look at the outward appearance, but the Lord, he looks at the heart." Then Jesse made 7 more of his sons pass in front of Samuel. And Samuel said to Jesse, "Are these all your sons? These are not the one I'm looking for." Jesse replied, "I have one more son. He's the youngest. He is out in the fields. He keeps my sheep." So he called to his youngest son, and they brought him in. Now the boy was ruddy, meaning he had a reddish complexion, and he was very good looking. The Lord then said to Samuel, "Arise and anoint the boy, for this is the one I have chosen." Then Samuel took a horn of oil and anointed him as all his family watched. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon the boy from that day forward. So Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Elah, and set themselves in array against the Philistines. Now there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 9 feet and 9 inches tall. And he had a helmet of brass upon his head. And he is armed with a coat covered with metal rings and plates, serving as armor. And the weight of the coat was 125 pounds. In addition to his helmet and his breastplate, he had shin guards of brass. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, which was a long round circular pole. And his spear's head weighed 16 pounds and 11 ounces. Goliath also had a soldier that carried his shield in front of him in order to protect his body from arrows during war. He stood and cried to the armies of Israel and said to them, "Choose a man of you and let him come out to me. If he kills me, then we will be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then you shall be our servants." Meanwhile, the young boy David, whose father Jesse had 7 grown sons, and 3 of his eldest sons were with Saul in the army. Jesse said to David, "Take your brothers an ephod of this parched corn and these 10 loaves of bread, and go to the camp to your brothers, and look and see how your brothers are doing." Now Saul and all the men of Israel were in the valley of Elah, fighting with the Philistine detachment. David rose up early in the morning and did as his father commanded him. He came to the trench as the host of the army was going forth to fight. For Israel and the Philistines had put themselves in battle array, army against army. And David left his cart and ran into the midst of the army and came and greeted his brother. As he talked with them, behold, there came forward Goliath. "Send a soldier to fight me." David heard them, and all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, ran from before him. David spoke to the men that stood by him, saying, "Who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should defy the armies of the living God?" So David turned from his brother toward another man, and when the words were heard which David said, they told them to King Saul, and he sent for David. David said to Saul, "I will go and fight with this uncircumcised Philistine. You are not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for you are but a teenage boy, and he is a man of war from his youth. I am a shepherd, and I kept my father's sheep. And there came a lion and a bear, and took lambs out of the flock, and I killed them both. I caught the lion by the hair, and I killed it. I killed a lion, and I killed a bear. I will do the same to this uncircumcised Philistine, seeing he has challenged the armies of the living God. The Lord that delivered me out of the paws of the lion and out of the paw of the bear will also deliver me out of the hand of this uncircumcised Philistine. So Saul said to David, "Go, and the Lord be with you, my son." Saul armed David with his armor and put a helmet of brass upon his head, and David girded his sword on his armor. But David could not move very well, for he had never used armor before. David said to Saul, "I cannot use any of these, for I have not handled them before." David took off his armor, and he took his shepherd's staff in his hand, and chose 5 smooth stones out of the brook near him, and put them in his shepherd's pouch that was attached to him. And his sling was in his hand, and he moved near the Philistine. Goliath the Philistine moved near David, and the man that carried the shield of Goliath went before him. And when the Philistine looked around and saw David, he laughed to himself and cursed at him. Goliath said to David, "Am I a dog that you come to me with bones?" The Philistine cursed at David by his gods. And Goliath said to David, "Come to me, and I will give your flesh to the birds of the air and to the beasts of the field." David declared to Goliath, "You have come to me with a sword and a spear and with a shield. But I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have challenged. This day will the Lord deliver you into my hand, and I will kill you and cut off your head. Today I will give your carcasses of the armies of the Philistines to the birds of the air and to the beasts of the earth, and all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. And all will know that the Lord saveth not with sword or spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands." It came to pass, when Goliath came forward close to David, that fearless David ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. David put his hand in his pouch and took a smooth stone. He put it in his sling. Swinging the sling over his head, David launched the stone in Goliath's direction. With godlike accuracy, David hit Goliath in his forehead. The stone sunk deep into Goliath's forehead, and he fell face first to the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and struck the Philistine and killed him. But there was no sword in David's hand. Therefore David ran and stood on top of Goliath, and took his own and withdrew it from his sheath, and he cut off Goliath's head with his own sword. God chose not to have David use King Saul's armor to fight Goliath. Just like Gideon and the 300 against 135,000 Midianites, God uses the very least to fight the biggest challenge. So we may know that only the hand of God has done this. When the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they ran off. And the men of Israel and Judah arose up and shouted and pursued after the Philistines. They came to the valley and to the city gates of Ekron, and the children of Israel returned from chasing the Philistines, and they spoiled their tents. David took the head of Goliath and brought it to Jerusalem, and he put Goliath's armor in his own tent. And when Saul saw David go forth against the Philistines, he said unto Abner, the captain of the host, "Whose son is this young man?" And King Saul said, "Find out whose son the boy is." Abner brought him before Saul with the head of the Philistine in his hand. And Saul said to him, "Whose son are you?" And David answered, "I am the son of your servant Jesse, the Bethlehemite." And this is 1 Samuel chapter 17.